demonstrate, and this is writing out.
Pass over to Lisa. Has everyone got pens and paper? There's paper on the table, there's pens on the table. Scribble away. And I'm going to hand over to lovely Lisa. Hello.
So I've got a couple of questions for you before I say anything. And I want you to raise your hand if these questions resonate with you. So, and I've heard people say this already today, so I'm thinking I'll get a full house. Who's ever stressed about getting dressed? Yeah? What about that standing in front of your wardrobe that's absolutely rammed full, but still thinking that you've got nothing to wear? Yeah. So, what about maybe sometimes for mums it's because you're not sure what to wear, maybe because your body shape's changed since you've had children. It's perhaps the fact that you used to be in employment and you had a uniform or a work uniform, you knew exactly what to wear, but then you go somewhere and it's smart casual. What else? Smart casual. Yeah? So basically what I do is I help people with all of those things. Before I talk to you today about your pants and how they can affect your profits, I was going to tell you a little bit about my background and my story, so you sort of know where I'm coming from and how I help people. So if you'd have met me 10, 12 years ago, I'd have been wearing a black leather belt. And attached to that black leather belt was a really long metal chain. At the end of the long metal chain was a really, really large bunch of keys. I was working in a prison. So just up the road, HMP Nottingham, category female prison. And I was very, very miserable in that job, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that as we go on. But I never grew up thinking, oh, I really want to be a prison education manager at HMP Nottingham. My ambition was to be a makeup artist right from, I was in Brownies, and I remember going to Brownies, I've been in my mum's makeup bag, probably got told off for it, but I gave myself a black eye, because I wanted to do special effects makeup. I was 8, and I went to Brownies with this black eye, and I was really pleased because Brownie went along with it, so I thought I was really, really good. She was obviously playing along with me. But I always wanted to be a makeup artist, and when I left school, I looked into it. You needed to be about 20 to do this makeup course that I went on. So I'll go do A-levels, I'll do art and design and all those kinds of things, because I'm good at that. And while I was at that, I started doing an evening class for makeup with City and Guilds, called cosmetic makeup and skincare. And while I was doing that, it was an evening class, alongside with my A-levels, I realised that probably standing wasn't going to be a good thing for me for long hours. I've got a dodgy hip, I don't know if you've noticed that, I do have a limp. It's a lifelong congenital deformity of my hip, and at that time I was in a lot of pain. They told me when I was 19 that I needed a hip replacement, but I had to wait. So we'll park that. So not going to be very good in fields doing special effects makeup for films and things if I can't stand up. And in those days they didn't have reasonable adjustments like they do now. So I went off into a designing career, a career in design. So I studied textiles and fashion design. And that's when I moved to Loughborough. I went to the art college, as it was then, it's now part of the university. And I studied textiles and fashion design. Got a career, got a job in textiles and fashion. I've worked for many of the high street brands. None of you seem as old as me, but if you were, you probably worn some of my things. So I worked, all my designs were in places like Marks and Spencer's, Littlewoods, Debenhams, you name it. I had designs in those stores. The actual patterns to go on the fabrics, not the actual garments. So I did that. And I was doing that for quite a long time. I started teaching. I worked in further and higher education as a college lecturer, teaching other people how to design and how to use colour. And then I had my son. And it was kind of like, it's like when you're a mum, you don't want to leave that baby. And I was travelling a long way. I was commuting 70 miles there, 70 miles back. And I thought, I'm not doing this anymore. And the pull on my heartstrings was too much for me to go back into that lecturing role. So I packed my job in with no plans. I was the chief breadwinner. I'd got no money, no plans, lots of debt, like you do, mortgage and this and that, and I thought, oh no, what am I doing? And at that point, I met someone who, much like some of you guys in multi-level marketing companies, I met someone who did Virgin V parties. I don't know if you remember Virgin V. Yeah. So I sort of met with this woman, and she must have thought all her birthdays and Christmases had come at once. And I said to her, look, I'll do this. I need to be managed. I need to do it really quickly because I need to earn X amount a month to pay all my bills. Is that you, Lisa? that was 20 years ago. Look, all right now. But yeah, it was kind of like, and she must have been thinking, oh, bloody hell, brilliant. Anyway, I did that, and I did do what I said I was going to do, and I went right up to the top of the tree. I was the car driver. I won all the prizes, went on all holidays, met Richard Branson loads of times, did all that. And for about 8 years, while my son was at junior school, I got to a point where I thought, I'm a bit bored now, and the company had changed, and I wasn't as happy as I had been because of all the changes that had been made. They were selling jewellery, they were selling this and they were selling that. It used to be makeup and skincare, which I absolutely loved. So they were advertising at the prison, just around the corner from where I live, for an art teacher. So that's how I ended up in the prison environment. So I actually went to work in the prison as an art teacher. Very quickly got promoted. So from being part-time a few days a week, I got a middle management job. And then I got promoted again and became the education manager. And that is when the misery started, because there was no, I'm quite a creative person, as you might have told with all my previous experience, no creativity. The only creativity in that job was putting colours on spreadsheets, doodling in my notepad, in the endless meetings, because you do a lot of meetings when you're an education manager in prison. And I had a big team. I'd got 60 people in my team who really, a lot of them shouldn't have ever been there, because in prison education you really are sort of struggling to get good quality teachers. And there were lots of targets. So it was targets by results. And when you've got prisoners in a remand prison, sometimes they're not there one day, they're not there the next. So really, really stressful job. And I was waking up about 4:30 every morning with this horrible feeling in my stomach. Can't get back to sleep. You sort of go to the toilet, try not to lose any tired. Well, when you're my age, you have to go to the toilet in the middle of the night. And you try and not lose any tired, but then your brain goes ping, and you're writing lists in your head. And you're thinking, oh, how many people are not going to turn up to work today? Blah, blah, blah. And as you may imagine, I don't know if any of you've been in a prison environment, there are bars on the windows. It's very quite a depressing environment. And I was basically popping Prozac, stressed, going to work, and in a really, really miserable place. But at that time as well, I was in a miserable place with my relationship with my husband. We'd been together 20 odd years, and he sort of, we just ended up rubbing alongside together. We weren't really in a relationship anymore. There was no sex. We were just sort of people who lived in the same house. And so I'm sort of bloody miserable. I'd also, forgot to tell you, I put loads of weight on when I was pregnant with this son, who's now 20, and I'm determined to get it off by the time he's 21. But I put loads of weight on. So part of my depression was all about how I felt about myself. And I couldn't look in the mirror. I always did my hair, did my makeup, but I couldn't look in the mirror naked, because I hated my body, really, like, with a passion, really not. And I thought all this misery and all this depression was to do with my weight and how I looked and how I felt about myself. And it was very, very, so Prozac didn't help on that side and all of that stuff, but I was in a really miserable place. And my friends used to say, yeah, but you always look nice. But it's not about how you look, is it? It's about how you feel. No matter what you look like, if you don't feel nice, and that was the thing. But I didn't realise that at the time. So I'm really miserable. I'm in this miserable job. I'm popping Prozac. I've got a husband who we just don't really take any notice of each other. And then something really traumatic happened at work. I had this very traumatic experience while I was working in prison. And I was off work, so I was on beta blockers, I was this, I was that. I was off work for quite a long time. That's the point when my husband decided to tell me that he wasn't happy and that he wanted to leave as well. So I'm in this place where you're absolutely like rock bottom, thinking, well, okay, what can I do? And I met this lady, we were just talking about her, Pam. I met this lady, and I believe now that she was my earth angel. I was meant to meet her. we got chatting, and while I was off work with this like really severe, mental breakdown, basically, and she said to me, what would you do? If you could do anything, what would you do? You don't have to go back there. You don't have to go back. Actually, what I'd really like to do, because, so if you rewind back to my days when I was in Virgin V, I was doing some part-time teaching as well in the community. And I used to help this group of women on a council estate with their confidence. The way I used to do it was using colour and clothes and makeup. We could do anything we wanted, but that was the way I chose to do it because that was the stuff I really knew a lot about. And I thought, do you know what, I could do that as business. And that's where my business came about. Now I used to trade up until about this time last year, probably, and maybe a bit later. I used to be trade as My Ruby Slippers, My Ruby Slippers Style Academy, so you may have come across my branding then. And the reason why it was called My Ruby Slippers, I don't know if you've seen The Wizard of Oz. You know, at the end, the Glinda, the Good Witch, and she comes along with her magic wand and she says to Dorothy, well, you always have the power, my dear, you just had to learn it for yourself. And that was the sort of the premise of what I did for my business, because my work is very much about empowerment, and it's about empowering women who've already got it inside them, because what I realised, once my husband had left, once I'd gone through all that trauma and I was on the way back up, actually my weight's got nothing to do with anything. It's about how I feel inside, and I need to help other people feel better about themselves. And if you can fake it till you make it, which is basically the premise on how I start, so if you know what colours suit you, and you know what colours make you feel better, if you know when you put an outfit on in the morning and you feel good in it, when you've ever had that outfit, that what I call a dog's bollocks outfit, and you feel really good, you walk out of the house that day with a different air, you stand taller, you feel it. And that's when you're on your best, playing your best game, aren't you? That's when people say, you're looking well today, and it's that kind of feeling. So I help people do that on purpose. So if you're not sure what suits you, if you're not sure what colours are going to make you light up, if you're not sure what shapes of clothes and stuff like that, I can help you do that. So then when you do that, you feel better. Then you go out and then people start noticing, you're looking well, and you're like, oh, thanks. And then that makes you feel, so it's like a cycle, am I making sense? So that's why I do what I do. So I just wanted to make sure you get that before I talk to you about your pants. Because I'm not one of these people, I think, I have to use the term image consultant because that for SEO, that's kind of, I hate it. Because the people who I work with, the ladies who I work with, and the ladies who've absolutely benefited from being on a journey with me, would never in a million years go and Google and put in image consultant in Nottingham. Because image consultants are for other people. They're not for people like us. I don't look like, when I go on the conferences, I look like I stick out like a sore thumb. Because they've all got shift dresses, they're all slim. They've got shift dresses and they've got brownie bobs. And then there's me. And I'm like, I don't look like the others. So I help people really express their identity and be their true selves and be authentic in how they look. So that's where I'm coming from. So I've set the stall out. So I'm going to tell you about your pants. You should all have one of these. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. My clicker's not working, I'm sorry. So what I want you to do is I'm going to tell you today, hopefully by the end of my little talk, do you some new ones, are they wet? If you wet your pants. You wet your pants. There you go. Right, so I'm hopefully going to tell you with my talk about how there is a direct link to your knicker drawer and your bottom line. That's what I did. So what I want you to do is on the back of those pants, I want you to write down 3 to 5 words on those pants about how you want to be seen. How would you like to be perceived? So it can be something like, well, I want to be in my business, I want to be perceived as the creative, quirky gin maker, or I want to be seen as the professional, business-like accountant. Or so just 3, maybe up to 5 words about how you want to be perceived in your business. And then when you've done it, turn your pants back over so you can see the pattern side. So, just going to read this quote out to you because this is really, I find, this kind of sums up what the whole point of my presentation, my talk today is about. So it's about, this is by somebody called Judith Rasband. And she says the way we dress affects the way we think, the way we feel, the way we act, and the way that others react to us. So in business, everything you wear, well, not just in business, every day, just generally, we are giving out messages, we are sending out non-verbal messages with how we look. Whether it's using the psychology of colour, whether it's the type of clothes, the brand you're wearing, the styles of clothes you're wearing, you are sending out non-verbal messages. And this is then has an impact on how people react to you. So this is kind of relevant, so just bear that in mind. So I have 4 sort of pillars with how I work with people. And it's basically, when each one of these pillars on its own is absolutely, amazing. You can do one of them and it will make a difference to how you feel and how you look. If you do all 4 of them together, then they've got this magic that happens in the middle. It's like a Venn diagram. And they're each all right on their own, and you cross 2 of them over together. You do colour and you do style personality, and that's great. You do colour, you do style personality, we look at the figure flattering style, so certain shapes, wrap dresses if you've got big boobs and all that business. And then this thing called levels of dressing, which helps you, so this eternal question, what is smart casual? It sort of helps you figure out what your version is and move up and down on the sliding scale. So they're the 4 things. I'm going to touch on a couple of them today. But, first of all, I'm going to tell you this story about Kathy. So Kathy is somebody I met through a networking group actually, a few years ago. She was a young mum. She'd got 3 children under 5. She'd got a little boy who was autistic, and then she had twins. And you can imagine the way she felt was like a lot of the time. She'd been in a professional environment working in management prior to having her children, and she'd always felt like she was, really competent and capable and business-like, and she was like this. But as a mum with these 3 children under 5 years old, she didn't feel like that anymore. She was in a situation where she was, oh God, I feel like, she'd look at the state of me, I'm just getting dressed to come here today, and like I was looking at my pants. This is where we start talking about the pants. And they were like grey and saggy and horrible, and her bra was the same, there was no support in her bra, and her boobs had changed shape because of breastfeeding, and she was just like, oh God, I just put anything on, and scrape my hair back and put my scrunchie in, and that's my life. And I'm in soft play centres, and I'm like scrabbling around, and it's just like, so she just felt like a very different version of Kathy to how she was before pre-children. So when she came to see me, she gave herself the gift of time, and she walked onto one of my workshops, and we were talking about stuff. And so first of all, during that workshop, we established, well, an easy fix is to sort of tell you about colours. So we looked at colours. So I've got these on the table, you can pick these up later. So these are just sort of like a quick fix, looking at colours. And worked out whether she got cool or warm undertones. So she kind of knew then, because if you stick with colours that suit you, and all your clothes are within that palette, they'll all go together really easily. So that's a quick fix. Because you're not worrying then about, does that go with that, or does that go with that? Because once you've explored the colour and the magic of colour, everything goes together, and it's like, oh, everything matches, it's alright. You can match if things are not ironed, because you've already got something that helps that's in there. So that was one thing. We also looked at her style personality as well. So she was fed up of wearing jeans, leggings, and a sweatshirt. Basically, that was what she was, jeans, leggings, hoodie, that's it, that's what she was. She said, I don't feel like myself, I hate this, I hate it, but it's practical. So we did a quiz with her So I have this style personality quiz. It's on my website, so you can all do this later. You don't even have to put your email address in to find out what your style personality is. But basically, there are 6 archetypes that I work with, and each one, we've all got one primary one. And so basically, the gist of it was, she was not living in her primary style personality type because the jeans and the sweatshirt were in a different one. They come under like the natural banner, and she was very much in the classic style personality over here. But what we needed to do was look at how she could translate what she needed to wear for a practical reason into what matched her innate style personality to make her feel a bit more business-like and a bit more professional. So there are a few things going on, and also get her in a proper fitting bra because that makes a massive difference. So you can see that she wasn't in this space, what I call this L'Oreal mindset. Anybody got an idea what you think I mean? Right. You've got to go like, right. So every time you see this slide, you've got to do it with me. Because I'm worth it. Think that, come on. Because I'm worth it. So if you're not joining in. So if you're not joining in, I believe it's because your self-worth doesn't believe You've got to, yeah, I've not got enough lead. I should have brought a wig, shouldn't I? But yeah, she wasn't in that L'Oreal mindset. She didn't think she was worth it. But we looked at her style personality, and this is the kind of stuff that she felt really good in. When she was working, she felt very good in dark navy and grey and black and suits and suited and booted, and you know, with a briefcase and whatever. Obviously not. She's not going to rock up at the Pirates Play Centre with a business suit and a briefcase. It's not going to cut the mustard. But what we did do, we sort of looked at how she could still wear jeans and still wear a jumper, but sort of smarten up the other bits to make it feel still practical, but more like her thing. So straight away I said, well, don't buy the jeans that have got the rips on. Don't buy the medium coloured jeans. Buy the really dark blue jeans that look, straight away they look smarter. Do that. And instead of wearing trainers, get yourself some Chelsea boots. They're still flat, you can still run around the park in them, but you can polish them and they can look smart. And instead of having that sort of puffer jacket, anorak thing, buy a trench coat. Still keep you warm, still keep you dry, but it looks smarter. Once you've got that coat on, nobody can see. You can do the school run in your pyjamas, can't you? You've got a really nice coat. I've been there, done that. But it's that kind of thing. So, and the bag, the handbag needed to be big enough for nappies and bottles and, you know, all the stuff that kids bring with them. So it's like, we'll get a backpack, we'll get a really nice backpack, so it's smarter and you feel it's not just a changing bag. And just those few little tweaks completely changed how she felt about herself, because she was. I'm worth it. All of a sudden, she felt just those changes. And the other thing that I said to her, so the first thing you need to do when you get home is sort out your knicker drawer. Because that is going to make a really big impact. So I want you to think now about your knicker drawer. I believe one's coming back on.